We are back, the Sunday Puncher podcast. I've got Jason with me. I've got Fake Simon, and it's me, of course. And a little later on, we'll bring on Tom to discuss the future pound for pound best Chinese fighter in the sport, Kang. But right now, first we got to talk about Ireland's Carl Frampton and his performance against Alejandro Gonzalez. Now, we're also going to talk about the Manchester card, which is headlined by the Crolla-Perez debacle that also features Scott Quigg. We're going to go back to China. We'll talk about Nonito Donaire a little bit. Then Texas boxing in general, which included the Chavez Jr. fight, which was a head-scratcher, and over to Germany for Arthur Abraham versus Robert Stieglitz, Part 4, and then David Thrice Price before we jump into next week's fight as well as this week's news. So, Carl Frampton dropped twice in the first round. Now, I think the first knockdown was mostly balance combined with the punch that threw him off. But I do think it rattled him. That combined with all of his tension and his need to make a big impression, I think that set up the second knockdown. But once we saw that when Frampton settled in, he was the Frampton we knew. I do think, though, and this is what I wanted to ask you guys, I think Frampton is either too small for super bantamweight or he needs to be matched the right way because his arms are Gamboa short. So
yeah, they are tiny. I don't know that he's going to need to be matched too carefully because I think he's a great fighter. But that first knockdown, total balance thing. The second one came off a punch, but he wasn't hurt, and he was kind of like slightly squared up, and he just didn't have his back foot out. So when the punch came, it landed. He was kind of squared up and just kind of had to, go backwards a little bit.
It was a good shot too.
It was a good shot. It landed clean, but it wasn't like one of these shots where he's, trying to shake the cobwebs out of his head. He was completely fine. I liked it, though, because it automatically, he's like coming out here to make this big impression, and then bam, you're 2 points down. Like, now you got to really show us what you're made of. And it was clear right from the opening bell that he was stiff and I don't want to say scared, but I want to say he was nervous. He was feeling, the
really
bright
tight
lights. Yeah. And he just wasn't fighting like himself until around the third round, middle of the second, end of the second, beginning of the third round. He started really boxing like himself. And then it's just like, oh, yeah, this is the guy that I know. But it was cool to kind of see him have to come back from a little bit of adversity. And it was kind of funny as a, boxing observer to watch him go out there and just be like, oh, yeah, he's fucking nervous. Look at him. And then he gets knocked down. And then it's like, oh, yeah, now he's even more nervous. Knocked down again. So it was good to see him manage his way back from that.
Dean, do you think that there's any concern with Frampton's chin going forward?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think the first knockdown was a flash knockdown. Like, I think somebody attributed it to his balance being off. And then I think he was trying to compensate for going down and walked onto a big shot, and that's why he went down the second time.
So we had Scott Quigg versus Kiko Martinez, so we're just going to combine the two since they're in the same division. Scott Quigg beat Kiko Martinez, who Frampton has beaten twice, stopped him once, and then took a decision once. Quigg didn't. I think a lot of people are going to be blown away by Quigg, how quickly he got Martinez out of there. But it's going to be fool's gold because Quigg didn't look that good in the first round. Quigg's problem his entire career has been boxing off the back foot. And when Martinez was pressuring him in the first round, Quigg just looked okay.
Okay, he landed being generous. Yeah.
Until he landed that big shot, in which case, if he lands that shot on anybody, I don't care who you are, you're likely going down because that was a thunderous shot. And then that hook that he put Martinez down the final time with was, that was a huge shot. So the odds between Frampton and Quigg, and it's unlikely that this fight happens now. I don't think either side really wants that fight, but
I don't think it's going to happen at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either, especially if Frampton's plan is to stay fighting in America and only fight once a year in the UK.
Wait, there was talks afterwards from both Barry McGuigan and Frampton of saying that he had a lot of trouble trying to make that weight.
Really?
So, yeah.
He did mention, he's been mentioning it in the week leading up to this fight, a move to featherweight.
So if you guys caught the PBC broadcast, right? It was really interesting. They brought up all the fighters who were currently in that division.
Right.
And they had Leo Santa Cruz there, and then they had 3 big asterisks next to him saying like that he's moving up in weight. And it was just funny, like Carl Frampton comes to town, and then there's a bunch of asterisks next to Leo Santa Cruz saying he's moving up in weight.
And now Frampton wants to move up in weight.
Now Frampton wants to move up to catch his ass.
No, there's no reason for Frampton to want to move up in weight.
Well, if he has to, he has to.
Well, I mean, obviously he has to, but
yeah, right. It might not want to be about wanting to, but that's a big money fight for him, regardless of the weight Leo Santa Cruz is. But anyways, about Quigg, Quigg looked like super lackluster the entire first round, and then he landed his shot, and I don't know. I don't think there's anything too exciting there. I don't think there's anything to get too excited about. But what do you think, Dean?
Well, when we were there, the crowd, we were silent. We didn't know what was going on with Quigg in the first round. He looked hurt at one point, like he might have broken his nose or something like that. And then he just came out in the second and absolutely blasted him. But like Angelo said, Quigg has always had problems fighting off the back foot. And at this point, I just don't think he's going to improve going backwards.
Right. I think he's at that point where, like, I guess you would say like the jello has gotten cold and it's stiffened. Quigg's at that point where the cast is set in, to make a boxing reference, Antonio Margarito. Quigg's pretty much this is what he's going to look like more or less as he goes forward, unless he drastically changes his style at some point. But we kind of know what we got with Quigg now. He can add tweaks and get better at certain things, but for the most part, this is Quigg. And I think anytime he's going to fight a fighter who puts him on the back foot, Quigg's in trouble. Donaire fought over in China, and he knocked out some poor guy in a couple of rounds. Does Donaire beat either Quigg or Frampton?
Maybe Quigg. Maybe. I don't think he beats Frampton. I think Frampton could put a hurting on Donaire. Quigg fight's a little more interesting, though.
You don't think that because Donaire is he's a pretty big super bantamweight, and with a 6-inch reach advantage, you don't think that's gonna be a pretty huge factor in if he were to fight Donaire?
It could be, but it depends on how Frampton fights him. If he tries to fight him from the outside, which would be a stupid thing to do, then yeah, certainly it's going to be an advantage. But I think there's game plans that Frampton could implement that would negate any kind of reach advantage that Donaire has. Donaire's biggest advantage is his size. By that I mean his physicality, not just his reach. Donaire's at his best when he's able to bully somebody around a ring. You know what I mean? He's not this, amazing boxer. The majority of his career he was beating up on guys that were too small for him. I don't know. I'm not that impressed with Donaire.
Pre-Rigondeaux, Donaire I would have said he would have beat Quigg. He would have probably stopped Quigg. But after that and after the Walters loss, I can't see it. I think Donaire loses to both of them at this point, anyway.
All right,
yeah,
so
pre-Rigondeaux, he was feasting on smaller guys.
So Rigondeaux, it's a good topic. Frampton and Quigg against Rigondeaux. Now, what are the odds on those fights? Like, how close are those fights? Frampton versus Rigondeaux and Quigg versus Rigondeaux.
Not even close.
For either one?
No.
Jason?
I think Frampton's gotta come close. Frampton's going to be more competitive. I could see him, etching out a win, maybe a controversial one. Rigondeaux's got a little bit shaky of a chin. Frampton's got a nice shot. Might be able to get him down on the mat a couple times, get some, points in the bank there. Quigg, I don't think very highly of him. I think Rigondeaux wipes the floor with him, just like the majority of Rigondeaux fights. But I think Frampton's got a much better shot.
One last thing about this topic. Frampton's star potential in America. Do you think he is actually going to break out and become a star in boxing?
Maybe. You've got to give it time. You can't go off just one fight. And especially if that fight is getting dropped twice in the first round. It's true, though. You can't base how he's going to do in America just by that one fight or that one round. You have to
If
give
they,
it time.
Yeah, if you do something like you did with Donaire, where you let him feast on smaller guys that are coming up in weight, and he's getting these impressive knockouts that we know he can get, I think he could completely raise his profile. But if you throw him in with the likes of Rigondeaux next, he may not be, that's not the path to stardom. But I think if he's matched carefully, just like with most fighters, if they're matched carefully enough, you could get somebody who's getting some really, really impressive wins, and that gets a lot of fan excitement behind him. See Golovkin, Chavez Jr. These are all guys that the fans loved because of their power. And then one of them ran into something that was a little bit difficult one time and came up really short. The other one is, power's shining through still. So if you use that same formula with Frampton, I think he's got the ability to put on some impressive knockout wins and
There's one
garner
problem
a
with
lot of
that.
fans' respect.
There's
What's
one
up?
problem with that, and it has nothing to do with Frampton, by the way. And we're going so long on this topic, but the point I wanted to bring up is that Frampton's with Al Heyman now and fighting on Premier Boxing Champions. If they try to match Frampton like that, he will get the Leo Santa Cruz treatment really quickly because fans are really quick to be critical about PBC and any of Al Heyman's fighters. And so I worry that if they try to take that approach with Frampton, it's going to backfire.
That's a good point. But if HBO did it, it'd be fine.
Oh, well, let's not talk about biases in the sport. We're going to talk about Texas later.
Point I wanted to make, just really quickly before moving on, is that
Your favorite fighter is...
with Frampton, you can't rush it. If you try and do what Top Rank are trying to do in China and just rush it, then you're going to end up blowing it.
Yep. And we'll talk about what that looks like a little later on. But let's talk about Anthony Crolla versus Darleys Perez. It was Crolla's attempt at a world title after coming back from a pretty devastating injury where he tried to stop a robbery and ended up getting hit in the head with the metal, or not a metal, like a cement block, and broke his ankle. Dean, you were there.
I'm still really, really sore about that last night. I think it was absolutely awful. And you guys may not agree with how easy I didn't think he won it easily, but Perez did not win that fight. And the point I want to make is that I've said it to you guys, the 114, 113 Perez card means that with the point deductions, one of them judges had Perez winning 8 rounds. And then he scored one of the rounds a 10-10 or a 9-9 to get that card. Yeah. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then I don't understand how there weren't that many swing rounds that you could go from 114, 113 for one guy and then 116, 110 for another. It's just really, really hard to stomach.
Well, I think if you were going to do those cards, those swing rounds, because there were quite a few swing rounds, you had to lean one way and only that way for every single swing round and be generous. And if that was the case, like, that's incredibly biased because it's not like one guy was doing one thing specifically throughout the whole fight and that's what you favor as a judge. No, they were switching back and forth, and I thought Crolla won. I thought he won at least 6 rounds. I could see a draw without any point deductions, but I think Crolla did enough to edge it, and it was really sad to see that because this was Crolla's one shot. He was going to get this title, and he probably was never going to defend it because if he did defend it, he would lose. Crolla's probably not a world-level fighter. And,
no, I don't think he's ever going to turn in another performance like the one he did last night. I think
that was inspired.
Song. And the worst part about it is that everybody in that arena knew it as well. And that is why the atmosphere was as brilliant as it was. Everybody was up screaming for Crolla. I've never, ever seen a crowd like that before. Not in Manchester, not at a boxing event.
What about at a Manchester United game?
No, because it's different. Because at Man United games, you get a lot of like old people and children and whatnot. It's different. Yeah. But everybody there was up, screaming, cheering, chanting every single round. It was a very, very... I don't think there was any Perez fans there at all. I was going to say pro-Crolla crowd, but
Well, yeah, it's in Manchester. But the thing about this fight and what made it difficult to score, because there were a lot of rounds where I was like, okay, this could go either way. But Perez was fighting like an amateur fighter, and he does have a deep amateur career. And he was like outpointing Crolla, just scoring. And there were so many rounds where he would outland Crolla, but those punches weren't doing anything. And it wasn't like in the Chavez fight, which we'll talk about later, where Perez was throwing punches and they just didn't have any effect. It was like, no, that punch literally had nothing on it. It's not that Crolla has this tremendous chin. And by the way, the moment when Crolla hurts him in the second round was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind at that point in the fight because I was like, there's no way that you could have convinced me before this fight started that Crolla was going to be able to hurt or stop Perez, and it looked like he might have if he didn't get that warning because he was hurt.
Is that when he hit him with a overhand right?
Yeah, and then the referee stepped in and gave Crolla a scolding.
See, the thing is, have you ever been to an event where you know what's coming, where everybody knows what's going to happen?
Well, that's the Golovkin-Rubio fight. We knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
As soon as that first card was announced, everybody knew what was coming. We
Yep.
all knew
Yep.
that he was getting screwed over. Apparently, Tom told me about this. Tom is Nova, the people on the sub. He
Who's
said
going to come on later?
Eddie Hearn was visibly pissed off before those cards were announced. Like, he knew what had happened. And then the second those cards were announced, shit just got thrown everywhere. There was beer being thrown from the top tiers. There was people fighting, both in the crowd and outside the bars. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But the card that wasn't the card that wasn't televised, it set a precedent for what the rest of the night was going to be like, because there was some extremely questionable decisions on them throughout the fights. There was a 4-round fight, and there was a Manchester fighter, and he got beat every single round out of 4 rounds, and he got dropped in the last 10 seconds of the final round, and all 3 judges scored it for him. I think it was 38-37, and we were just looking at each other like, we know scoring isn't the easiest job in the world, but how do you score it like that? It's shocking. It's not even like a hometown bias. It was like predetermined cards.
Right, and it's shocking that they were fighting in Manchester, and Crolla didn't get the benefit of the doubt in the final fight.
Yeah.
How do you do
Yeah,
that?
that's kind of crazy.
The Tyrone Nurse fight against, I think it was Chris Jenkins,
Yeah.
It was a horrible fight to watch, and the scoring on that was like, I think both Terry O'Connor and Howard Foster were scoring it.
Yeah, they were scoring.
I was sat next to a couple of Scottish guys, and I said to both of them, I said, these two scoring it, if it goes the distance, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 dodgy cards, and one of them was 115, and then the other was, I think it was 114, and it ended up being a majority draw.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. There was some seriously questionable cards on what was a really, really fun night of boxing.
And the other thing is the Martin Murray stoppage. It wasn't terrible.
No, it was a British stoppage. If you want to use the term British stoppage, I think that you could use that to fit the bill.
But you could use that term, and everybody knows what you mean. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, this one was like I agree with this one though, because this guy had nothing. He was too slow, too everything, and he was just way bigger than Murray. So Murray wasn't able to hurt him. But this guy had nothing, and nobody wanted to watch the fight. I think they were actually they stopped it because they didn't want to judge and officiate the fight anymore. So he said, let's just stop this and get to the next fight. Quig's next. The crowd's restless. The one good stoppage, too, was in the Eggington fight. Eggington was destroying this guy, and Eggington looks like he's going to be a real talent. He's 22 years old, and he was doing some really nice things in the ring. If Eggington keeps developing, he's going to hit the world level. Anyway, Eggington was battering this kid, and there was a pretty nasty cut, and it wasn't that bad, though. You could tell he could have fought on. And they just stopped it, and it was you could tell they were taking pity on the kid because he was just getting destroyed in there. And you know what? That kid kind of looked like Tom, don't you think? He did, didn't he? And with that,
hold on. Before you move on, I just want to give my theory on why the fights in Britain are stopped, maybe a little bit prematurely, or like called British stoppages. I think the BBBFC, the British Boxing Board of Control, are so terrified that there's going to be another Nigel Benn, Gerald McClellan, or is it Eubank and Watson? I think they're absolutely petrified that another one is going to happen.
yeah.
That these refs are instructed to, the second that a fighter may be in a little bit of danger, to look at jumping in and stopping the fight. I think they're absolutely just terrified of it happening again.
And if you don't
it comes
know
out of
what
a place
happened,
of fear.
if
Yeah,
you
it
don't
comes
know
out
what
of a place of
happened,
fear.
British media can be so sensationalist, and if something like that happened again, especially a televised tragedy like that had happened again, there'd be so many calls to ban the sport and so much overdoing it. So
Yeah.
that's what I just think the refs. I don't think the refs are doing a bad job. I just think they're doing what they're told to do.
Yeah,
really.
they're doing exactly what they're instructed to do.
and
yeah,
if you
without a
don't
doubt.
know when this happened, it was in the early 90s, I think. British boxing almost went bankrupt and almost had to close down. And that's why they're cautious. And that's what the fear is that British boxing almost disappeared at some point in the 90s because of that accident.
It was when Watson sued the Box Board of Control, I think, after the Eubank fight. He got seriously hurt and he allowed him to carry on.
And then they didn't have ringside physicians close by after the fight, so he was without medical. It was a big mess, really.
Yeah, if you look at fights before that as well, like if you look at like around the time Nigel Benn and Gerald McClellan fought, even going back from that when Hagler fought Minter, the refs used to just let the boxers beat the shit out of each other, like to the point of where if they can't stand up, then the fight's over. Like they literally let them stand there and just be a punching bag and would not stop the fight. And now it's a lot more lenient, especially since Watson sued Board of Control, and that's why he's many stoppages.
Do you guys think if a fighter completely looks like a punching bag and that they're getting battered like one, that the referee should stop the fight and not just let them take the beating over 12 rounds or whatever it is?
Well, I mean, there's so much more to that question. Like, nobody could answer that question. That's a ridiculous thing to ask.
I think sometimes it's all right for, like, in the Murray fight, I think that was a good stoppage because the guy, you could tell it was not getting better. It was going to get worse. He was not in the fight, and all he was doing was just taking the punishment. And it wasn't even like cloddy punishment where it was hitting all arms. It was like Murray was landing whenever he wanted. And I think that was a good stoppage, and I think there shouldn't be criticism for those kind of stoppages.
If we're talking, like, was it Edgar Sosa who Gonzalez fought?
Yeah.
If you see that sort of punishment where the fighter just cannot get away and he can't throw back, then absolutely stop the fight. But I hate to use this, but if you look at Chavez when he fought Martinez, that's the prime example of why maybe you shouldn't step in. Because Chavez always had the puncher's chance, and he very, very nearly pulled it off. So there are exceptions to it, but...
I mean, that's the referee's job then to look, because Chavez never looked hurt in that fight.
Yeah, there's a clear difference. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, you can stand there and you can
take shots and not be hurt.
And be fine.
Yeah.
Or then you can just be trapped and not be able to get away from the fighter, and just you need to be saved from yourself.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about China now, and with that, we're going to bring on Tom. So now we're bringing in Tom, who's from somewhere in England. But when you hear his voice, it's going to sound like he's calling in from Mars. Tom, what did you think of the Ik Yang fight? Because you are marrying a Chinese woman and you're moving to Macau. This is like not a joke either. I'm not making fun of you at this point.
Yeah.
So what did you think? Because you had really high hopes for Ik Yang and you thought that he was going to destroy Cuenca.
Well, I hoped that. It was 45 minutes of unadulterated disappointment, really.
That must have been a tough one for you to swallow, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was irritating because I was hoping to see, if he won, for instance, I was hoping to see him in Macau live, obviously defending a title, but that's not going to happen now.
Why did you think that Yang was going to win the fight?
Well, to be honest, I didn't know much about Cuenca, and it wasn't so much as a rational decision as an emotive one. I just kind of hoped he would.
Yeah, he was a fun fighter to watch up until then, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
The last
Of course
fight,
you wanted him to win.
Yeah. Pathan Pothong fight was brilliant. That was entertaining.
But you didn't think that the same guy who, fought Hiro Tito to a majority decision, you didn't think that this guy was going to maybe struggle with a guy who knows how to box and move on the outside?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that Yang is some kind of polished boxer. He was pretty awful, to be honest. Even with my huge Yang bias, I had it massively in favour of Cuenca.
What was your score?
Well, I've got it written down as 116 to 109, but is that? I don't know whether it's counted up correctly, but yeah, I had 3 rounds to Yang basically.
Okay.
One of which
That's
included
not
the 10-8.
bad. You weren't even that biased because I do think Yang did manage to win 3.
Yeah, that's a reasonable score. Absolutely.
I think I had the same card. I'm not too sure.
How shocked were you guys when Yang was scored with that knockdown in the first round?
Not very.
Against Cuenca? Are you serious?
Hold on. It's not because I'm saying Cuenca has power or anything like that, but have you watched Yang's footwork?
Yeah, it was
Thing
awful.
of beauty.
It's awful. He's so unbalanced when he comes flying in. Of course he's going to go down at some point.
I was
And he leaves himself open so often as well. He stands square in front of the other guy occasionally.
Yeah.
I would have said, though, going into this, I guess I would have said that it was more likely that Cuenca would knock down Yang than Gonzalez would knock down Frampton twice in the first round.
If you would have offered us, that's a crazy bet. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know which side I would have taken. I think I would have said Frampton's more likely to get knocked down.
No, twice.
I was watching a bunch of Cuenca's fights before when I wrote this preview, which is when I decided to change my pick from Yang to Cuenca. But I was noticing that sometimes Cuenca would throw a straight right hand at a guy who was, in his guard, and the punch wouldn't even break through the guard. Like, it was almost like they stopped it before it was able to penetrate. I was like, wow, this guy does not punch hard at all.
That might work if you have a guard, but it didn't work for Yang, so he didn't have one.
No, Yang was auditioning for the role of punching bag in the next Rocky movie.
Oh, boy. Why don't we do Yang versus Alvarado?
Oh,
Oh, wow.
you can mark it as brain
Criminal
damage.
versus criminal.
Yeah, from jail cell live in Macau.
I'd watch it.
If it was in Macau, it would probably be the only thing you had to watch.
Yeah.
And Bob Arum would charge you, it'd be a $1 pay-per-view price, and he'd make $4 trillion, quadrillion dollars.
Yeah, because there's that many people in China. So, Tom, anything else you want to say on this fight before we kick you off?
Well, I mean, the other thing was that Yang just couldn't stop Cuenca from circling to his outside either. That was the thing that killed him eventually.
That's a great point.
What was interesting too is this fight made Cuenca look like the power puncher. Like Yang's head was getting snapped back left and right. It was just like I just couldn't believe how he was he was taking the punches fine. Like he wasn't like hurt, but he was just getting rocked.
He didn't know that they were coming. That's the problem. I was really shocked by that too. It was like, why doesn't Yang brace for those punches? And the only answer I had was he doesn't know that they're coming.
He doesn't know they're coming because that's a good point. Because he could have easily been bracing for them and taken them a lot better, but instead his head was just getting snapped around. It's just like, man.
What do you guys think of Cuenca going forward? How does he do against the other top super lightweights out there?
It depends, because if you look at how he was in the fifth, he was like 5 rounds up after 4, and when he went down in the fifth, he was losing the round. Just let the round go. you're already well ahead. Just let the round go. But no, he came in like an idiot and walked straight onto a punch and then went down. It's like, great, now you're down. Now you've lost 2 rounds.
You think he beats Provodnikov?
But I think Provodnikov's got a bit more polish than Yang, for sure.
As amazing as that sounds.
Yeah.
I think he does. Provodnikov can't do shit with a guy who moves.
I guess you have to say how put Algieri next to Cuenca, I guess. You know what I mean? Because Provodnikov struggled so much with Algieri. I don't know that Cuenca's as good as Algieri. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That's a tough fight to call.
He looked very slick, and Provodnikov cannot deal with slick fighters.
Right. I think that's a much closer fight than a lot of people are going to think. You know, the thing that what really got me when I was thinking about this fight was that Cuenca's fought every domestic super lightweight, welterweight, anybody who can make any weight close to 140 in Argentina. And Argentine fighters, just from what we've seen when they come to America or when they go to the UK to fight on the matchroom cards and stuff, they all have a similar style, most of them. And it's like this rugged, almost brawler type of style with this off rhythm. Yeah. Well, not Cuenca. And this is the thing. Yang's style is kind of like an Argentine journeyman. It's pretty similar. Right. Yes. And if he was able to deal with all of these guys and nobody was able to trouble him much, there was no way Yang was going to do anything that Cuenca hadn't already seen. And in fact, there's probably domestic fighters in Argentina who would probably blast through Yang.
They're at least at the level, yeah.
What'd be hilarious?
Cuenca versus Algieri.
Cuenca defended the belt like 2 or 3 times and then just retired on like 52-0. And then people came out and said, "Oh, Mayweather got to 50, but Cuenca's on 52. So you got to defend. You got to win like 2 or 3 more."
That was the next topic. Or should we be demanding Cuenca versus Mayweather?
Mayweather, absolutely.
I think 48-0. Somebody's has got to go.
Somebody's O's got to go.
I want Cuenca versus Herrera.
You trying to fall asleep or something?
I'm trying to lose fans.
Let's talk about losing fans now, and we'll talk about
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. No?
How did you know? How did you know we were going to talk about that guy?
Oh, did I guess right?
Yeah, you did. So Reyes, this looked a lot like the Vera fight, where Reyes was able to pepper. I mean, he did a little worse than Vera, but Reyes was peppering Chavez and moving, and then he'd get caught whenever Chavez decided he wanted to box and get hit with big shots. Never hurt, though. Never down, Reyes was. Chavez, Dean, you have defended Chavez for a long time, and I know that you're off the bandwagon, so just, why don't you talk?
Oh my God. Do you want me to talk or rant? Well,
is there a difference?
I like Chavez because of his father. I loved watching his dad fight. Well, watching his repeats of his fights and whatnot. And he's one of my favorite all-time fighters. And I loved the idea that, they were going to continue the legend and he was going to be the next great and he was going to carry the name on. And then you've got this unprofessional fat fuck who can't make fucking weight. Thinks he won the fight after getting stopped or retired or quit or whatever the fuck he was doing. And then, he has a chance to come back and he misses weight again like an idiot.
And again.
If it wasn't for the fact that he had the name Chavez, he wouldn't be anywhere. He had no amateur career.
Somewhere in between gets popped for diuretics and THC.
Yeah. Such an entitled little bitch. I am absolutely fucking done with this guy.
I don't want to get slanderous. There's the drunk driving stuff, too.
Jesus Christ.
And you forgot, Dean, that he complains incessantly to the referee.
Oh,
and
my God, that's his new worst
he got
habit.
Hit with a low blow. No, a headbutt. And he complains to the referee, and the referee stops the action and deducts a point.
I know.
Without any warning.
It was unbelievable.
He did something similar when he fought Martinez. They both clashed heads. Martinez ended up with a fucking cut on his head, and Chavez was the one looking at the referee. He's like, what? He's so spoiled. Such a spoiled little bastard. I'm sick and tired of defending him.
Yep.
So my wife came home in the middle of that fight, I think like around round 4 or round 5, and she's like, who's he fighting? Because she sees Chavez Jr. and like expects to know the name of the person that he's in the ring with.
'Cause he's a name.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, somebody he should be knocking out, but he's not. And then I was trying to explain to her how it's
Some poor
basically,
middleweight.
yeah. Then I was trying to explain to her how it's basically, a guy that would be Andre Ward's size fighting somebody who would just like be a little bit smaller than Klitschko, and he's still unable to get the job done, and he just is he's just so piss poor. So what I ended up starting to feel towards the end of that fight is like, why am I even watching this kid fight?
I had that same thought too. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna like.
I don't think
I'm
I don't-
wasting so much of my energy right now to watch this fight. And basically, it was a packed day of boxing. To cap it off
Exactly.
on that one,
It was horrible. Like, is this what I want to be doing? Is watching this kid fight? Like, he had a functionally, at least just going off of what I'm eyeballing here, 25 to 30 pound weight advantage.
yeah, there's no way that wasn't more
It-
than or less than 20.
He was upwards of 200 pounds coming into the ring.
You know it's bad when Dan Raphael is giving you shit about your weight.
Exactly. He had at least 25, 30 pounds on this kid. He but he refused to make weight. He's already bringing this kid up from freaking junior middleweight. The kid is a career like 154 pounder who fought some fights at middleweight too. Like, this is and then on top of all that, you don't stop him?
Yeah,
Holy shit. That's next level. That's next level bad.
and Robert
Oh.
Garcia was disappointed in him after the fight. Like, that look on his face wasn't that he was mad that there were headbutts or anything like that. Like, Robert Garcia looked like, I cannot believe this guy cannot, like, if you didn't watch the fight, and good for you, Chavez would sit there and just kind of circle the ring for maybe the first minute and 30 seconds of a round to maybe 2 minutes. And then at some point, he would decide he wants to fight and then start moving forward and throw big power shots. Now, when he did, he was actually pretty effective. Chavez has always been pretty effective with his straight right hand that he leads with. But, it's also pretty easy to be effective with those shots when your opponent, for the last minute and 30 seconds, has seen you just stand there. It kind of takes them by surprise that you're throwing punches now.
Have you seen the tweet that Brandon Rios retweeted last night after the fight?
Now, what does it say?
There was a referee. Is it Guadalupe Garcia was the ref, and he's got this cheesy fucking smile on his face, and they've like paused it on the ref, and the caption is "When you're higher than Chavez Jr." and Rios retweeted it.
That's good.
Hold on, it's so fucking funny.
So on that card, though, on that card, we also had the Arroyo Villanueva fight, which was probably one of the ugliest fights that I've watched in the past couple
that day?
years. No, I thought that fight was like next level bad. It was miss punch, clinch, headbutt, miss punch, clinch, repeat. Somebody lands something, clinch, headbutt, miss punch, repeat.
Yeah, the fight was...
It was
boring.
Yeah.
And Arroyo didn't look as good as advertised.
Exactly.
Villanueva looked a little better than advertised, only because I was not expecting much out of him. And he was actually kind of effective at times when he was landing that right hand. But then when Arroyo got wise, Villanueva had literally nothing.
Right. Did you catch the Amir Imam Angulo fight too?
Yeah. I didn't like that knockout. It was a clean shot, but that's not how I want to see Amir Imam score knockouts. I want to see him land flush shots where there's no controversy.
What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Hold on. Was there? I haven't looked in the fight thread. Was there controversy in that stoppage?
No, I don't. I'm talking about myself. Like, I want to see Amir
Dude,
Imam
he
score.
fucking flattened. Dude, he pancaked that motherfucker. The dude fell face first.
No. The punch was like above the ear, almost behind the head. So like,
It
that's
was
not
not
the
behind.
kind of
No,
shots I want to
no,
see
no.
Imam land against
No,
a guy
that
like
was right.
Angulo.
It was a little bit. It was below the ear on the back, like on the neck region, though.
No, it wasn't.
I mean,
It was higher than the ear.
I don't
Because
know.
the reason why he went down is because his neck snapped. I guess this would be horizontally. Yeah, it's not a bad knockout, and it's fine
Dude.
win for Imam. But I wanted to see Imam set this guy up and land like the cleanest shot. Not some. It was really ugly the way that happened. Imam is way more talented than that.
Oh, I don't know. I think you're looking at that punch all wrong. It wasn't like this beautiful. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. It wasn't
so
like this
I wanted
beautifully
to see
well
that.
set up. Right. No, I get that. It wasn't that. It was kind of an ugly, but it was a fucking dirty ass shot, dude. The dude fell face forward, like he went lights out. Like
Yeah.
it was perfect. Like that. It made me like Imam even more.
Yeah,
Because
Imam's-
I'm never too big on him. But the way because he was being pressured as he was throwing that punch too. It's like a counter shot.
What I noticed about Imam in that fight, we got to speed this up, by the way, is he's not as effective in the center of the ring as he is off the ropes with his defense. He was getting hit when he was in the center. Then when he gets on the ropes, suddenly he's way better. It seems contrary to how normal fighters are, but Imam's going to be a real interesting fighter as he progresses, and I just wonder if he's going to be able to stay at super lightweight or even welterweight. He looks like he's going to, at some point, need to move all the way up to probably middleweight, given how tall he is. Let's see. Let's talk about Abraham Stieglitz really quickly, which was another really ugly fight. That was pretty much big shot, clinch, hold, big shot, clinch, hold. And Abraham stopped Stieglitz after like 6 rounds or something. Do you remember what round that was?
I think it was around 6. Abraham did what he had to do. He was getting in some really big power shots, and then just a couple rounds later, it was like Stieglitz just couldn't handle the same shots anymore. You know,
Yeah,
Abraham was landing the same shots throughout the entire fight, and then kind of Stieglitz just, I don't know if he fatigued or he had just accumulated enough punishment to where it was that same right hand, and it was just putting him down this time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I noticed too. I was like, oh, that's not much different. Like, I didn't think that was as bad as some of the ones he was getting hit with earlier. And
Right.
then finally, he
Very
just hit him right.
repetitive. Yep. Yeah. So.
Stieglitz had a horrible game plan, though, by the way, and it just kind of looked like their other 3 fights. But like Stieglitz's game plan was to just beat up Abraham while he was in his guard. That's not going to work. Nobody's had success doing that. And then lastly, David Thrice Price was knocked out on Friday pretty badly against another heavyweight prospect. And I think that closes the book on David Price.
It's kind of sad that Simon isn't here, for this because,
Yeah.
David Thrice Price was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
And now it's finally come to fruition. We actually get David Thrice Price.
It's true. And the
And
only
he's
sad part
not
is that
here to say
it wasn't Anthony Joshua who got to do it to him.
Yeah, that would have really been perfect for Simon, but
It was Erkan Tepper. Anyway, let's talk about
next new
week.
heavyweight champion.
Well, I heard that Price is now negotiating for a fight with Wilder in the fall, but whatever. Sergey Kovalev versus Najib Mohammedi. So, Dean, you were not a fan of Sergey Kovalev.
Oh, bring it on, motherfucker.
I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I just think Stevenson beats him. I don't think he's the best in his division. I think Stevenson is.
Oh, you think Stevenson's left hand beats him?
Now,
is what you're saying?
hold on, guys. Pause.
The one.
I just want to let you guys know that notice how I tell you guys to preview this fight and talk about this fight next week, and all you guys are going to talk about is Kovalev Stevenson.
Because who gives a shit?
Exactly. That's the preview for this fight. We're going to talk about Kovalev Stevenson. All right. So, Jason, you were saying something about a left hand.
Okay, so in this fight, it's going to be Stevenson's left hand. Now, Stevenson's so one-dimensional. and just piss poor. Hey, how about this? Why don't we do this for Kovalev? Why don't we bring up a 168-pound, title challenger and see what Kovalev does to him? He fucking brutalizes him.
He doesn't brutalize Andre Ward.
No, I'm talking about Saki Obika.
Oh, okay.
Shut up. This is my time to talk.
You said 68 title holder.
Title challenger.
Fair enough.
Very specific with what I said. Sure, at one point Andre Ward did challenge for a title. But, God damn it, you derailed. You always fucking derail me. God damn it, Angelo.
So you were saying that Kovalev brutalizes a 168 fighter if they come up and fight him.
Well, just all I'm saying is, you give Stevenson a guy like Bika, and you get Stevenson Bika. You give Kovalev a guy like Bika, homeboy's toast. Like, he's done. It's over.
Are you sure?
100%. Stevenson, who's the last guy to go 12 rounds with?
Bernard Hopkins.
Exactly. That's what you need to go 12 rounds with Kovalev.
68-year-old fighter.
No. You need a master craftsman boxer who, is a defensive wizard, right? And you still lose every round, but you just manage to have enough pride to end the fight on your feet.
I mean, I thought it was a 7-5 fight.
Shut the fuck up. No, he didn't. There's nothing that Stevenson has ever done that has looked overly impressive besides, stop a completely shot Chad Dawson. That's his claim to fame. That's Stevenson's claim to fame. That's still his claim to fame, is knocking Chad Dawson out with one punch.
No, after man, he beat the best light heavyweight out there.
Tony Bellew?
Yeah.
How'd I know you'd think Bellew? Do you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, Kovalev's got a significantly better resume. He's shown that he could do it better against better levels of competition. He's proven over and over again he is, tougher, stronger, gets guys out of there better than Stevenson does. And Stevenson, man, he's a one-arm bandit. I can't wait. I can't wait till somebody beats him. And I don't care that it's Kovalev. Kind of fuck Kovalev because he's lost a lot of, fan friendliness with his whole racist bullshit.
Shit.
But I'd still love just somebody to beat Stevenson.
If they could knock each other out, would you be okay with that?
Absolutely. No, I want it because I want to be right.
Well, you will be 50% right. But Dean, what? You have no counter to that? What are you, Ik Yang?
He's like, no, Stevenson does have two arms. He just doesn't use them. Like, Golovkin gets hit in the face because he wants to.
Jason getting wound up about this is enough for me to not reply.
Okay. He's taking the high road.
Yeah. I'm taking the moral fucking high road here.
Oh, yeah, Stevenson won't be on that road with you.
Chavez will.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you can't look to fighters for morals, and that's the moral of the story.
Well, any Kovalev-Stevenson story, that's the moral of the story.
No, I really don't. I haven't seen anything that impresses me with Stevenson. I just haven't. I think his whole career is made off of Andre Ward's leftovers.
Do you think he has the power to drop Kovalev?
I think Caparello dropped him. He had the wrong stance,
Yeah, he stood on his feet. No, but do you think he has the power to put him down?
To put him down? Hell no. Hell no. Nope.
You don't think that rocket of a left hand would put Kovalev on his ass?
Well, I think he'll put him on his ass. I'm saying he could beat an 8 count from it.
I think he could knock Kovalev out.
No way. No way. Nope. Not happening.
I think he can too.
I'm sorry, did he knock Saki Obika out?
Nobody's knocked Saki Obika out.
Saki Obika out.
Oh, so who's knocked out Kovalev? Nobody knocks out Kovalev. Do you guys get it?
No, but I think the point is that Stevenson does have the power that he could
Yes.
knock Kovalev out. Now, Kovalev can knock Stevenson out too.
Kovalev's
These
got the
two,
power to knock Stevenson out, so that's a
John
mute point. They both have the power to hurt each other.
Jean Pascal landed some pretty big punches on Kovalev.
And what happened?
This is a 168 fighter who's come up to light heavy. Stevenson's a light heavy fighter with a big punch. If this was Stevenson landing them shots on him, Kovalev wouldn't have been able to do what he was doing.
No
well,
way.
he certainly would have been as aggressive because he would have stepped back and tried to box because he was reckless against Pascal, which we've seen Kovalev isn't just a reckless fighter. He can box if he needs to.
Yeah, exactly. He's reckless when he wants to be, when he feels it's the appropriate time.
I think he'd be reckless against Stevenson. I really
Why?
do.
Why? Why wouldn't he box like he did against the Hopkins fight?
Because Stevenson would talk trash.
Hopkins didn't talk trash?
Kovalev had no respect for a 50-year-old man. He was like, okay,
why is
fine,
he going to have
talk.
any respect for...
Kovalev doesn't have any respect for a black man. So
That's what I'm saying. That's not... Yeah, you're making weird points.
No,
Yeah.
that's the point.
He's not going to respect him. He's going to do exactly what he wants to do with him, just like he did with Hopkins. Just like he did with everybody else he fought.
Dean, you have nothing left to say? Are you going to concede this argument to Jason?
yeah,
No, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. No.
I've got a better point actually, and it's fuck Amir Khan. And you know,
To the point.
That was one you had to get in, didn't you?
I think that ends the argument on that one actually.
I actually do. I think I just scored it for you. The Hail Mary that always works. All right, let's talk about John Pascal's fight against Yunieski Gonzalez.
It's on the undercard.
Right, it's going to be televised, and Gonzalez is an undefeated Cuban. I don't know too much about him, but Simon, who I did a podcast with last week, he has Gonzalez winning this fight. He says Pascal's right for the picking, that Pascal's the beating he took against Kovalev, amongst all the other losses that he's suffered in his career. Like, this is the time for, if anybody's going to upset Pascal, it's going to be now.
I think Pascal's falling into gatekeeper status. That's where I think he's going. Because he's not going to beat the top guys in his division now. And
Yeah, I mean, the other way to say it is that, people that, Kovalev fights get ruined, right? Yeah, they don't go on to have good careers because he beats them so badly. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Well, because Kovalev fights nobody, but let's not get onto that.
missed out at 168. He missed out at 175. So,
Oh, guys, I forgot about this. Carl Froch retired this past week, and it's a shame we didn't start the podcast talking about Froch because he deserves it. But for those of you out there, because this is relevant to the John Pascal, who have not seen Froch's fight with John Pascal, go watch it. It's a real war.
I have a question, quick question. Did you watch the Sky broadcast last night?
Me? Yeah, I did.
Was Froch there?
Yeah.
Did he mention anything about Wembley? I'm being serious. Did he mention anything about Wembley?
I don't remember it. I don't remember him mentioning it. Like, usually when he does it in a joking way, and it's kind of funny, but I don't think he did. He was mostly talking about the fights last night.
No.
The one thing I did notice about Froch is that he uses himself as an example quite often. I don't have any problem with that because it's not like he wasn't a great fighter, wasn't a world level fighter who had one fight on the world stage and that's it. Like, no, he was at the top of his division for quite a long time. So I don't mind Froch using himself as an example when talking about his career.
At least he doesn't refer to himself in the third person. That could be.
Who does that?
Miguel Cotto.
The Canelo.
All right, enough about Carl Froch. Let's talk about Beibut Shumenov versus BJ Flores, the PBC broadcast, which is sure to pull in real scorching numbers. What do you guys think about this cruiserweight fight? And, no disrespect to the fighters or anything. I'm not joking about that, but I don't know how you headline a card featuring Beibut Shumenov, who was knocked down by Bernard Hopkins, and BJ Flores, who's relatively unknown except for the fact that he's the commentator.
He's the commentator on main events.
So, just a little confused by this. And I don't even know who to pick. Like, I don't know how Shumenov's going to do at cruiserweight.
Is BJ Flores even an active fighter?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't even an active fighter, right? Like, when was the last time he fought before this?
You might be a little shocked.
I might be. Yeah, no, I probably am. He's probably like Roy Jones, right? Is he fighting like
No,
every...
the last fight was October 2014.
Oh, okay. Before that?
And the reason why you may not have know him too well is because he took 2 years off of his career between 2012 and 2014. So in that time, nobody heard from him. And it was in that time when Marco Huck and Johan Pablo Hernandez were bringing some relevance to the cruiserweight division, and BJ Flores was missing. Now, before he went on his little hiatus, he took a loss to Danny Green down in Australia. But other than that, Flores has been solid. He's knocked out the guys he's supposed to knock out, and he just hasn't faced the competition, though, that is going to be at Beibut Shumanov's level. So he's 36 years old. I favor Shumanov here, but...
Well, Eddie Hearn can always make the rematch a pay-per-view, like level with value.
That's what we do with cruiserweights now, huh?
Yeah, that's the agenda.
That's the cruiserweight, yeah.
All right, let's jump on to this really fascinating news article, since you guys are so thrilled to talk about the cruiserweight division. The title of this article, Angry Arum Slams Pacquiao for Skipping Rehab. Now, a little sensationalist, don't you think?
Parentheses, you can't handle the truth.
So this, I'm not going to read the whole article, but basically they interviewed Bob Arum, and this is what he said regarding Manny Pacquiao. As far as I'm concerned, he's not an active fighter. Not been acting very professionally. And so what happened was Pacquiao was supposed to come over to see the doctor, and for some reason, he decided to cancel it. This is Arum talking. So he's not acting very professionally. We're hoping to... So basically what happened was that Pacquiao had this appointment to go see a surgeon to look at his shoulder and to formulate the plan for his rehabilitation after his supposed shoulder injury. But instead, Pacquiao blew it off for this female in the Philippines who was on death row after she had been arrested for...
heroin trafficking.
Well... alleged heroin trafficking. All they found was heroin sewn into her suitcase. So who knows
Angelo,
if she was trafficking
it? It's no longer alleged if she's in jail and on death row.
Hey man,
alleged is I don't
know how the law works over there. I'm not trying to get no slander, no libel, no none of that.
No. Alleged is pre-trial. When you're on trial and on death row for committing a crime, it's no longer an alleged crime.
I don't want to get too much into this, but like, is selling heroin worth being on death row? Like, do we have to put people on death row for that?
We're not talking about that you're using the we as in a global sense.
Exactly. Like, but like as people, like, do we need to do that? Can we just...
it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So, Pacquiao had his thing where he got her, and it looks like he got her off, which is cool. And plus she was like being used as part of like a human trafficking ring. So she wasn't even the one like profiteering off the heroin. They were just forcing her to do it.
Okay, let me finish the quote though.
Yeah.
When you have an operation like that, you've got to get into rehab. You've got to get to the doctor to look at it and to guide you as to the kind of rehab you've got to do. He's a grown man, and he makes his own decisions, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not an active fighter. So that's regarding Pacquiao's future as a boxer being promoted by Bob Arum.
I think the bottom line here is Arum is really upset because if Pacquiao doesn't show up to his follow-up appointments, they can't really claim that there was an actual injury.
Oh yeah, that was Asia One News. Thank you for the article and the quotes. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think basically Pacquiao's kind of screwing up the story that they're all trying to hold together. That is that Pacquiao was injured at some point, either during or before the fight, which, of course, made him lose against Floyd Mayweather.
Right, but if he doesn't show up, to the doctor's appointments, that's not good. It makes it seem like maybe he wasn't injured.
You think the insurance companies are like planting cameras and spies like they do here in America? and they're like waiting to see him go play a game of basketball so they can see. You see, you weren't injured. You were playing basketball. There's no way you could have shot that ball if you actually had an injured shoulder.
He was too busy rolling around in that Mayweather money. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how he injured it, carrying bags of
I'm so
money.
pissed off because Pacquiao can't make him any money at the moment.
He's lashing out at him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what this means, though? This is good for us.
Means we're not going to have to see Mayweather Pacquiao too.
Correct.
Cruiserweight on pay-per-view.
Promoted by Matchroom.
Yeah.
No, it's that when Pacquiao comes back, Arum's going to go hard on him and say, okay, so you're back, right?
Crawford.
You're back. Crawford, exactly.
Yep.
Or Marquez in Mexico City with no drug testing.
I'm fine with that. That sounds fun.
It does sound fun. So...
But,
I love the idea of him coming back and fighting Crawford. It's like, welcome back after your injury. Let's end your fucking career.
If Floyd Mayweather didn't end your career, this certainly will.
Well,
we're big Crawford fans here.
As sad as that sounds, though, we do need, like, not we, but Top Rank does need to create a new star to take over for Pacquiao.
And they need to do it at the expense of Pacquiao.
Exactly. Pacquiao does need to pass that torch.
Yep.
Over Arum's dead body is Pacquiao going to escape out the game, not having lost to another top-ranked fighter. It's not happening.
Yep. It's a very good point.
And Rios failed?
Algeria failed? Or no,
Well,
he
wasn't
with Top
Bradley
Rank.
failed? They
Bradley.
tried, and they even went so far
They gave
to give him a
Bradley 2
decision,
shots. Yeah.
and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So the options are Crawford now, and
Ik Yang's out the door.
you blew it, kid.
Mikey Garcia is taking the long road to that one.
Garcia's
going to sign with Al Heyman.
Yeah, exactly. Garcia's like, oh, it's okay. I'll try my hand at a Mayweather shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Crawford's in line for that.
Are we any closer to knowing who Mayweather's going to fight yet? Because it was meant to be like announced this week, and
it's Khan. It's got to be Khan.
Don't get him started. We're almost at the end, and you're going to get Dean started.
Well, no, he asked. I think it has to be Khan, but
I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, I can try, but it's a win-win for me because if he fights Khan, it's going to be hilarious when he beats Khan.
When he knocks Khan out,
it's hilarious because it's just gonna just wind Khan up to no end.
Khan's gonna. I think he'll stop Khan. I think he could stop Khan.
I think the fight's going to be announced this week. Whoever it's going to be. Is there any chance that it's Brooke?
No,
I don't think so.
Like, I really want it to be Brooke.
I would love that too, but I don't think there's any chance in hell.
A lot of people want to see Golovkin.
Oh yeah, why not Chavez Jr.?
Well, people want Lara, which I don't necessarily want that fight, but for the people who want.
Sorry, other than Simon, who predicted that just because he wanted to pick somebody that people aren't thinking of, which I don't think Simon really meant in his heart. But who wants to see Lara?
I don't want to see Lara.
Tom does.
Tom, are you still there? Fucking knob. Tom, defend. Why do you want to see Lara Mayweather? Unmute yourself. Okay. Yeah, Tom's crazy if he wants to, if you actually put Lara Mayweather on as a pay-per-view, or even if you show it for free, that's even worse if you put it for free. You know how many people are not going to watch boxing anymore?
He says he thinks Mayweather stops Lara.
I think that's in the cards, and that's a pretty bold pick by Tom, but, I trust him as a fan of Lara to know his fighter's limits.
Well, no, if you're trying to get people, reinvigorated in boxing, obviously Mayweather-Lara isn't the fight right. Obviously Mayweather-Lara isn't the fight that you put on.
Okay, what situation is Mayweather-Lara the fight that you put on?
When you want to piss people off.
What?
When you want to piss people off.
Okay.
When you want to have people unsubscribe to your podcast.
I've got a quick one. Naming a few guys how would you be satisfied if that was Mayweather's opponent? Okay, so Golovkin at like 150, whatever the fuck it's going to be at.
I think it's only worth watching just to see what Golovkin looks like at the weigh-in.
Like a prisoner of war.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Lara.
I'm not interested at all in that fight.
Cotto rematch.
Who?
Miguel Cotto rematch.
I like that fight. I'm
yeah,
more interested in that than anything that's been mentioned so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not big on it, but I'm more interested in that than any of those other two. What else?
Rios.
Nope.
Stop.
Rook.
Yeah,
Yes.
I definitely want to see that.
Khan.
Okay.
I'd take it.
Yeah.
And Berto.
No. Pass.
I wouldn't pass on it. I think it'd be fun to see Mayweather just destroy Berto.
So if you
It's
could
like-
choose an opponent out of any of them, would it be Brook or Khan?
Brooke.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's from a fan's point of view. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think monetarily Brooke makes the most sense. You know what I mean? And that's what they're going to look to. They're going to look to the money. What makes the most sense? I want,
Shitload over here.
I like Mayweather versus any UK guy with Frampton on the undercard. That's what I want.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. It's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, because now you get Frampton exposed to the biggest audience, and you put him in a real showcase fight.
Well, would you be okay with Mayweather Berto with Frampton on the undercard for free on CBS?
Absolutely, 100%.
I think that's a good plan right there. I don't think at this point. I know a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, I don't want to see Mayweather in a going away fight. No easy fight for Mayweather." But he just beat Manny Pacquiao.
Oh fuck it! He's on the downslope. He fought his biggest rival, made him look like a tool. It's over, dude. He gets to do whatever he wants now.
Yeah, like if Mayweather
sorry.
fought Algieri, which would actually be really interesting, just given how different we saw Algieri look against Khan. All right, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't really care who he fights. I don't think he needs to go in there and fight Golovkin to prove anything. His career's over. He's proved everything he needed to prove in his last fight.
You should fight Zelenov.
He should put him.
Do you think Mayweather will take as long as Froch to decide he's retiring?
No, I think he'll come out and retire and then maybe come back in a year or 18 months and fight one more fight.
Against Pacquiao?
Maybe. From Crawford.
He's not going to fight Crawford.
Yeah, because he's ducking him. He's been ducking Crawford. He's been ducking Crawford since.
Or because he never wants to
2012.
do business with Top Rank again from that stupid lawsuit.
He's been ducking Klitschko since '96 as well.
Yeah. Crawford since 2012. Klitschko since '96.
Roman
Golovkin.
Gonzalez for
Golovkin 2012. Gonzalez since 2013.
Actually, Gonzalez since this year because nobody knew who Gonzalez was before that. All right, guys, this is another episode of the Sunday Puncher podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. Please subscribe to us if you're hearing this from iTunes or whatever your podcast content provider is. You can follow us on Twitter at Sunday_Puncher, which sometimes I and then sometimes Dean will be using to post things on Twitter. And email us at podcast@SundayPuncher.com. We will respond to those emails. You can even request topics to talk about. We'll be back next week. Maybe Dean will be back next week. Maybe we'll have Tom. Maybe we'll have Adam. So now that we finished the boxing portion of this podcast, let's talk about TV.